Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda? Second? All in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. The agenda has been approved. President's message, that would be me. As you can see, I'm wearing the hat of the firehouse. Folks, in a couple weeks, you're going to be getting an election packet in the mail. In that election packet is a referendum to give us permission to go forward with this process. This is a critical piece of infrastructure that needs to get done. So when you get the packet, please open it. Put your vote in the part that says yes. Put it in the mail. Please make your voices heard. This is important. And that's the end of my remarks. Any public comments? Anybody wishing to make a public comment? Please come up to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes. Please state your name and your address.
Marlene Ott, 1 Warbler Court. Resident here for more than 50 years. And my trip over here was just talking or thinking about my involvement with the fire department. And again, I am so much in support of providing our firefighters with the facility that they need to continue their outstanding service to us. I was just wondering on the way over how many houses you all protect on the south side. I know there's 8,250 houses in Ocean Pine. So I would say, and there are more than on the south side than there are on the north side. I would say it's got to be 4,500, maybe even 5,000 houses. They are tasked to service and protect. My daughter, who is now older than I am, I don't know how that happened. But anyway, she was Miss Fire Prevention. Wrote on the back of a convertible in the parade. That was Laurie Ott. Yeah. How can you have a 60-year-old? Anyway, the other thing that I was privileged to be involved with the fire department was this was Dick Passwater or Skip Carey or his wife Jackie Carey asked me to be in a control burn. I suited up in one of their unbelievable, they're unbelievably heavy suits. I could not believe it, and was told all about, and it was the Tropical Aquatics. It's across the street when they burned it down in order to do the Pennington Commons area. Unbelievable, a true respect for what the firefighters do almost on a daily basis. It was, and I know now what they mean by drop and crawl. Because that's what Skip told me. Had to get out of there. It was just such a pleasant job to be involved as much as I was. But I also got to bring, when we had the 200-year anniversary of the United States of America and celebrating 1776 and 1976. I have a picture of me dressed up in Williamsburg outfit, ringing the bell on the old antique fire truck that you have. I also have in my collection the original costs what Boise Cascade had into the development of the community vision hub. They had $48 million in developmental costs in 1968 and 69. So you can take those numbers. But one of the things that they made sure was that we had our own fire protection. So I'm very much in support. This is what I tout when I sell real estate. We've got the finest police force, the finest fire protection, greatest schools, and people come here and they flunk retirement. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marlene. Do we have any other public comments? If so, please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll be limited to 5 minutes.
Hello, I'm Karen Kaplan, 32 Chatham Court. I've lived here for 9 years. And I agree with Marlene, and I don't know who wouldn't, that we revere our fire department and our police department here. We're very grateful for all the things you do, and you should have what you need to do it. There's no doubt about it. So just to play devil's advocate, though, in my mind, you could double your living space here and cut the cost of the project maybe in half if you just put a second story on the building and renovated what's down here. So I'm just wondering why that is not on the table. And the other thing that I wanted to ask was, are there any architectural drawings that you have of the project? Because it would be nice to be able to look those over. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, so that was basically my question or my thought out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? This is not a back and forth. These are public comments. Thank you. Before you start, sir, we will have a little comment. What would you like to say, sir? You have a public comment? Okay, then never mind. So what is your name and your address, and you'll be limited to 5 minutes?
My name is Skip Carey. A little bit about myself. I'm did a good job with Carey there in there. Believe me, she didn't cut her run. She stayed. I live at 45 Lookout Point. I've been a resident here since 91. Remember, I've been employed here, this building, since October 1st of 85 when we started the ambulance. And to the lady that just talked, what you are in now originally was a 2-bay engine station. From out of the doors there, that door went to the outside, that door went to the outside. So this building was not built to sustain a second floor. It won't hold it. It isn't structure down. I spent a little bit about it. I spent 5 years on your old group, 2 of which I was vice president. I have 95 years in the fire service, so I understand it a little bit. This building is not like a golf course or a swimming pool. The sole purpose of this building is to protect your property and your lives like people who live here. That's why it's so critical. Heard Marlene talk about the number of homes. Now, this is a unique community. When they built it, I don't know what they used in design, but it definitely didn't exist. For example, I'll give you a thing. There were 2, and this is the problem why you need a good facility to work on it. There were 2 beach ports, one on the north side and one on the south side. One was tree, EECH, and one was sand, BACH. And when you left here, see the mic there, you said, is it sand or tree? So you know which way to turn. You went out. There's some of the problems that have existed and a new station with the facilities in it will overcome. Sleeping here was miserable. And then first place because it was, the heat went on and off and the air conditioning went on and off. And, it was interesting. The structure, again, is purely a functional structure. It's not Taj Mahal. It's not anything like that. It's a good place for the people to work. When we worked here, you worked 14 straight Thanksgiving here on the shift you were on. We worked 24 on, 72 off. And you can imagine 14 Thanksgiving dinners now. And what we did, my wife, who happened to be president of the organization and Amherst captain too, she would cook Thanksgiving dinner down here, and all duty people would come and eat and family and stuff. And so we had that. But it's a home in the sense of the duty crew guys and gals that are working here, and it has to be a decent home for them. Plus, it has to be a decent place to put $1 million piece of equipment. And right now, to give you an example, Stockton, a little community with a fire company down in South County, just took delivery of a new engine, 1.3 mil, and that has no frills on it. That's just a basic engine. Ladder truck will run you close to 2 mil now. These are the kind of problems that a new station will help work out and work through and with. The community needs it. That's the critical thing. The community, and we're all community. My house, your house. You know, you need to have. I'm pretty much here 5 minutes now. Give or take. I've been known to talk long.
Nobody interrupt Skip. Is there anybody else that has a public comment would like to come forward? Please come forward, state your name and address.
I am Amy Peck, 109 White Horse Drive. When we built the community center, we immediately almost outgrew the square footage that we need. And now we need more park and rec space. So my question is the square footage plan for this new building going to be sufficient for future growth? And if we have to add more paid personnel, first responders?
I'll allow the fire department go ahead and answer if you would mind.
Sure. So we have, we'll get into this in a little bit when we go through our presentation, but we've done our best to try to think about the needs of the department today as well as needs down the road. It's no secret that volunteerism, when it comes down to being involved in the fire department, is lessening and lessening every single year. There are still great people out there and we're still bringing in great people every year. But the days of having a waiting list to be a part of the volunteer fire department are long gone. So with that in mind, we've tried to design this facility not only to maintain the current level of operation that we have, but also have space if we need to add additional personnel from a career side, or if we need to change what our response model looks like. There's some departments that are going out there and doing volunteer duty shifts, and so they're covering 12 or 24-hour shifts where they're sleeping in as well. And so we've tried to accommodate those different plans in the future.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions from the audience that you want to ask the fire department before we start the referendum presentation? Yes, ma'am. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Jeff. I just have a question. Is this working? Cindy Hoffman, 23 Water Green. Do you still have the grants that you have reported to have had over the past couple of years? Or is that still accessible?
Yes, we still have the different grants and the different bonds that have been talked about publicly before. We still have those funds. We still have a few years remaining to use those funds. So that's why it's even more important now that we come together on a decision of how we move forward so we can utilize those funds.
Does anybody else have any questions for the firehouse before we start the referendum presentation? Okay, then I'm going to close the floor to public comments, and I'm going to turn this over to President Ensign.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And thank you everyone for being here today. We really do appreciate it. I'm going to do my best not to get tongue-tied here and out of breath and not rush. So to get started, this has been a long project and a long process for a lot of different individuals. Mr. Carey in the back discussed how he's been a member or a career employee here since 1985. And I know for a fact, at least dating back to at least 2001, the original idea of renovating and modernizing this station came about. Thank you. Where we're at today is it is now 2025 and we are still talking about the same exact thing. And the cost of everything has gone up significantly since 2021. So again, we are at the point where we need to make a decision of how we're going to progress and make sure that it is set up for the future and not just, oh, we can get by for now. So to get started, our agenda for today, we're going to go through some introductions. We're going to talk about the existing conditions overview, talk about renovation versus new construction, the proposed design that we have, some different financial considerations, as well as comparable projects. Of course, once we finish, if there's any additional questions, if it's okay with the board and that's part of the process, I don't know, you can ask them, or you can stick around later and we can talk about them too. So from an introduction standpoint, as the president said, my name is Joe Enstey. I serve as the president of the Ocean Pines Volunteer Fire Department. I started here as a cadet under the guidance of Skip Carey in the back when I was 15 years old. I was here for a handful of years, moved away, went to college, came back, said I'm never doing that again. And the next thing I know, Dave and Steve are in the newspaper saying, hey, we need volunteers. And well, they suckered me into coming back. So I'm here. And so this place means a lot to me. I grew up in this firehouse. I grew up sitting at that table with Skip, eating Thanksgiving dinners and other holiday dinners. I've seen the good, the bad, the evil. I've seen when this entire room used to be red. Lots of this firehouse used to be red. There's been a lot of cosmetic things that have been done to this firehouse, but not much else has changed besides the colors of the walls. Over the last couple of years, brought up here in the front, First Assistant Chief Steve Greenwald and Vice President Dave Van Gaspek, they've been working very hard behind the scenes, working alongside the OPA board and John Viola, trying to further this project. Chief Joe Ridgen and myself have taken off where they left off with the project, and we're going to see it through. Four of us together have a vision, and we've worked with our department, our career and volunteer staff members to make sure that this design plan that we have is going to meet the needs of everyone. To do that, we basically put together two different groups. The first was our OPVFD South Station Building Committee. That building committee was comprised of both volunteers and career members. So that way every perspective could be considered when developing what the needs were for the department, not wants, what the needs are for the department, and how we can best accomplish meeting those needs. This committee is working hand in hand with a second committee put together on the OPA side that we're calling the OPA South Station Work Group. This work group is comprised of the chief and myself, as well as Mr. John Viola, Eddie Wells, as well as two community members, Frank Brown and Toby Jacobs. Together, we have been basically going through all of the needs of the department and kind of building off of everything that Dave and Steve had been working on up until this point. This group is the ones that are going through and trying to figure out, okay, hey, how can we fund this project? What money do we have? What opportunities are out there? And making sure that there's also a clear level of transparency from both the fire department and OPA with the community. We realize we are here to serve the community. We realize that we are funded by you all, essentially, rather it be through your donations, through tax and revenue that's coming in through the county, or through the dollars that are invested in the OPA assessment that is then allocated to our department. So we know that this is an important thing and we need your support through this. So we put this group together to make sure that it was there. So thinking about existing conditions, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through some of the conditions that we face in this firehouse. One thing that I want to be clear about is that we are thankful for this building that we have. We are thankful for the opportunity that we have to serve. Rather it be from a volunteer standpoint or a career standpoint, this is one of the best fire stations and fire companies that you can be a part of. You have guys like Mr. Carey in the back, who's been around here since 1985, to people that just started a year ago, and they can see the difference. And there's a reason that we have some of the best paramedics, firefighters in the entire area that work here and they come here. With that said, it is getting more and more challenging every single year to retain those folks and recruit those folks when the building isn't keeping up with the changing demands of the fire service and essentially the issues that we face in the community every day. So backstory, I think it was shared a little while ago, but this building was built in 1981. As Skip said, where you're sitting right now was the original engine bay. So what you're seeing up there, that's this area right here. That garage door may or may not still be in the ceiling. There's a tale about that. I've never seen it, but Chief Greenwald says it is. So it was designed to basically take care of the fire department. Come along 1985, apparently we needed to make more room for Skip. He's got a really big personality, so they put an addition on. But no, that was the time that we were bringing on the medical side of things. And so they put on a 4,200 square foot addition, which included the 3 apparatus bays, the kitchen, basically the lounge or the day room that's out there. And then about 1987, there was another 500 square foot addition for the administrative offices. Since that time, there's only been minor things that have been done to the building. Rather it be changing out some cabinets that were failing in the kitchen, rather it be changing out a failing toilet, or repainting after repainting after repainting. There's been some times where we put some new flooring in, but structurally this building has stayed the exact same as it's been since 1987. When we talk about this site that we sit on, one of the challenges with this site is it's only 1.34 acres. And so when you're talking about a building site that's 1.3 acres, you have to consider, can you go out? Do you need to go up? What needs to be done? There's been lots of talk through the different newspapers and online about the original cost of the proposed firehouse a couple years ago. And that was a design that was designed to go up instead of go out. That was done just from the standpoint of this is a very small piece of property, and how can we try to basically make the best of that? With the new relationship or the updated MOU that we were able to accomplish with the board of directors, we've been able to work out a way to make sure that we don't have to go up, we can go out a little bit more, make sure we can accommodate the different needs that we have while bringing that price down to a more reasonable level. The reason it costs more to go up is things like ADA accessibility. You have to have an elevator and things like that. And so those are things that are really out of our control of what we wanted to have versus needed to have. All right, so thinking about the existing conditions, some of the challenges that we have, and when we're finished today, if you want to take a walk through and you want to see the engine bay or the different areas, you're more than welcome to do so. So in our engine bay, the way that it's currently set up is that we have a ladder truck, a rescue truck, a fire engine, and 3 medic units. In that bay, we also have all of our PPE. So that's for our volunteers and our career staff. That is challenging for a number of reasons. Number one, when we have an emergency, we have volunteers and career staff that are coming from different directions trying to all get out into that engine bay. At the same time, there are people that are trying to drive these vehicles in and out in an emergency response mode. It provides challenges that you need to be aware of okay, hey, is anyone going to run across because they forgot their keys and things like that. Thankfully, we've never had an emergency, but there have been firehouses right up across the Delaware line that have had issues within their department. A couple other things is, as you can see from that first picture right there, to make sure that these vehicles are as protected from the elements as possible, we've got very limited space between the backs of the units and the fronts of the units and the doors. If there were to be an emergency on this side of the firehouse, trying to get through that area would be extremely challenging. It's also extremely challenging trying to make sure that you navigate and backing in your vehicle appropriately without doing any damage to the other vehicle. The doors for our engine bays are also only 12 feet wide. When this building was constructed in 1981, it wasn't that much of a concern because fire trucks were smaller. Today, fire trucks are only getting bigger and wider. And we already have the challenge of trying to find or have custom vehicles made to go underneath the Route 90 underpass to make sure that we can better serve both sides of the community without having to go out and around. With that said, they don't really make narrower pieces of equipment. So that's a challenge. Trying to back in a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment with maybe 6 inches of room on each side of you, or trying to pull out of the back of the building. Another big concern with the current design of the station is that we lack a proper decontamination area. I know that's a term that's been talked about a lot, and I know, Ms. Peck, you've talked about it a lot, and it's one of those things where we try to do the best that we can with what we have. And so right now, our decontamination area serves as decontamination. It serves as our ice machine location. It serves as part of our IT rack. It also serves as part of our storage area for our SCBA. And one of the biggest things that it's missing right now is it's also missing a shower. So if you think back to when January, February, March 2020, when COVID was in front of all of our minds, when it was such a concern, we weren't sure how to handle it. There was a PPE shortage. We would have crews of 4 that would go out to COVID positive patients, and there'd be no place to decontaminate. So they would then have to wait to take turns to use the one single shower that we have in this building. So put yourselves in their shoes. If you were the fourth person to get a shower, you're now waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes to basically get off of something that you don't know. Do you have the germs? Do you not have the germs? And then where are you traveling? You know, to get to this one shower, you have to go through the engine bay, the decontamination area, the kitchen, the bunk room to get to that. Or you're going from the engine bay to the lounge, to the bunk room, to the bathroom. It doesn't seem like much right now when there's not a pandemic going on in the world and you're not coming back from a hot smoky fire. When you're coming back from those conditions, it's a pretty big deal. And I'd say that coming from a volunteer standpoint, I know the uncomfortability that I have just getting back in my vehicle and driving back to my house and then going through my house to try to get to my washing machine to decontaminate in my home and then get to my shower and trying to make sure that my son doesn't come up and hug me and then I'm passing on, any of those bad germs to him. So thinking about the other spaces that we have, our kitchen and dining area, it serves as kitchen and dining / locker room. You can see still in there today, we have lockers in there for personal storage. Our bunk room, when it was originally designed, when Mr. Carey started working here, you had one person working a 24-hour shift with 4 total people working 24/72. Today, we have 4 people working 24/72, plus a 5th Monday through Friday. Plus, we have others that are here on training or are picking up shifts to try and help with overtime. And so now you have a bunk room that was designed for maybe 1 or 2 people that now has beds for 4 and lockers for 17 people. That is a challenge. And trying to get up in the middle of the night and navigate those different corners. We're already asking a lot from our first responders or paramedics or firefighters that are staying here. And then potentially just risk them tripping over something and injuring themselves in their bunk room. It's a concern. Yeah, I'm going to take a water break. Please pause. So, renovation versus new construction. That question came up a little while ago. I've seen it in a lot of different places. Before we set out to do this project, even back in 2001, the question of renovation or new construction came up. The original plans that I saw from back in 2001 was a renovation. And again, it was building farther that way into where that parking lot area is and renovating different spaces in here. With that said, 2001 versus 2025, a lot has changed, both from a code standpoint as well as a need standpoint for the department. So what we did to try to figure out how do we move forward is we got a building committee together and we talked around to all of our career staff, all of our volunteers, and really put together a list of items that were our needs for this department. Needs for this station of how do we move forward and what do we need to make sure that we're future-proofing this station for years to come. And so we tried to break these areas, break these items into different kind of chunks. So the apparatus bay and the apparatus support areas, our private spaces, our public spaces, our ancillary spaces, and our semi-private spaces. Again, as Mr. Carey talked about before, this is our career firefighter and paramedics home for 24 hours while they're here. And they're here usually at least 2 days a week, if not more, if they're picking up overtime to try to help when other people take vacation or are out sick. They need to feel like this is a place where they can rest, that this is a place that's safe and secure, that they have a place to put their things. So we made our list, and then we started to look at kind of where do we go from here? Can we take the existing footprint that we have and put everything that's in this list in this existing footprint? And the answer to that is no. There's not enough space right now under roof to do that. Okay. Do we have more space on the lot on this property that we could build? Sure, we do. If we put on an addition, could we leave the building as it stands and just put on an addition? And the answer to that question is no. We still have additional problems that just building an addition wouldn't solve. We still have drainage problems. There's nothing like sitting down and having that Thanksgiving dinner and the drains in the floor start backing up around your feet. Not very pleasant. There's also the concerns of the existing leaks and mold conditions. There's also the concerns of the moment that you start to do renovations inside of an existing building, if you reach a 50% mark that the, I guess it would be zoning or the code enforcement decides what that 50% is, you automatically then have to progress to bringing everything up to code. So when we looked at it, we realized that just doing a simple renovation wasn't so simple, and it really probably wasn't going to be the most physically responsible decision. Rather it be trying to meet all the code compliance that we would need to from ADA, NFPA, the life safety code, the energy codes, as well as we'd have to build the addition because there's not enough space. There are serious life hazards that are in here. We have plumbing that is backing up. We don't have enough plumbing for the area for as far as showers and things like that. We have leaks in the building. There are places where there are, you know, rusted out ceiling tiles and leaks that are coming in that may or may not be causing different, you know, environmental concerns. We also realized that the way that this firehouse was laid out, because it was pieced together, it's an inefficient layout, and the last thing that we would want to do is put another piece to the puzzle to continue to make it inefficient. So therefore, we would need to continue to remodel, and then again, it's going to help or essentially push you closer to having to be over that 50%. Additionally, as Mr. Carey said, this structure was built in 1981. This was originally an engine bay. Could we potentially go up with it? Potentially. But there's also a lot of cost that goes involved with structural engineering studies. If we go up, there's also the idea that we have to do the elevators. And then when we combined all of that together, we felt that if you're going to make a large investment into a project, do you want to make that large investment into a project that started in 1981? Or do you want to make that large investment into a project that's going to give you more time and potentially give you the ability to meet more of the needs that the department has? So when it comes down to the design, a couple things to point out. What we decided to do was a partial renovation and new construction. The renovation side of it, the existing engine bay is going to be renovated. There are still good bones in that engine bay. So what we are going to do is we are going to go through there, fix the drainage, fix the leaks. We're going to expand that area and push out one of the walls to make sure it can fit so we don't have the fire truck and the medic units smashed back to back together. The new project is going to be approximately 15,000 square feet. And the estimated time is going to be about 65 months for that project to be completed. Looking from a site design standpoint, this new structure or this renovated / new structure is going to be able to make sure that we're meeting all the code compliance issues that we're not meeting today. Rather it be from our bathrooms, rather it be from just the walkways and the pathways. We're going to have the ample parking that we need. We are going to have the expanded area to have our 2 new apparatus bays. So that way we can put more of our equipment inside so it's not subjected to the salt air and deteriorates faster. That's one of the best ways that we can protect our equipment and make sure that we don't have to replace it earlier is by having it inside. And we just don't have the space right now to be able to do that. We're also with the new plan, we're also going to be able to recreate our firefighter memorial and have an enhanced memorial that's incorporating all of the bricks that we have that have been purchased as part of the brick fundraiser that we've been doing for the last year and a half. When it comes down to the architectural side of it, I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but there are copies of these plans that are up in different places around today. This incorporates all of the needs that we have. There have been times that we had to come back to the table and say, hey, is this really a need or is this a want? And there's been things that, when, maybe in 2020, there wasn't a need, or in 2019, when, a certain part of the project started, it wasn't a need, versus today, after a pandemic, that is a need. So we've gone through and we've been able to design a facility that is going to be multifaceted. We've got an area that has 2 large bunk rooms for our career staff that can service one large area, or there's a separator. So that way, if we need gender specific bunk rooms, or if we ever need to do an isolation incident because of someone getting sick and they're not able to go home, we can isolate that individual or individuals. We have a dedicated space now for a volunteer bunk room. So that way it can accommodate any changes in our response type, or also whenever we have large storms, whether it be hurricanes, snowstorms, and things like that, we are putting together volunteer standby crews. There's usually one here at the South Station, one at the North Station. And so now we actually have proper spaces besides just couches to kind of pull up and sleep on. We've also made sure that with this new design, there's a proper decontamination area that will allow not only to basically get any of the personal gear into the washer and dryers, but it will also allow for 2 different showers for individuals to be able to go in and basically get clean and get rid of all of the contaminants that's there. This design has also incorporated the opportunity for us to have both a career and a volunteer locker room specific for our PPE that's going to have the proper filtration system to make sure that, 1, the diesel exhaust fumes are no longer going on our gear, and then 2, any of the off-gassing that happens from being inside of a fire or a fire event is no longer just going into the environment that's going on others' gear. It's going to be going through a filtrated system. We've tried to do our best to make sure that every need has been accounted for in this, and it's been a really long road getting to this point. And there's been a lot of time, a lot of sleep that's been lost thinking about this. From an exterior standpoint, this is just a quick mock-up rendering of some colors. These are not finalized colors by any means. We're still kind of feeling out what that is, but the general consensus is we're going to try to match the community around us with the blues, the grays, things of that nature. Additionally, you will see that we've tried to make some different cost-conscious decisions as far as, the type of roof that we're using, asphalt versus the metal roof that we have at the North Station. We also have made sure that we have the larger 14-foot wide door openings for all of our apparatus bays, and not just the 2 new apparatus bays that are being added on. Now, when it comes down to a financial standpoint, thanks in large part to the work that Chief Greenwald and Vice President Van Gasbeck put in when they were serving as President and Chief, they were able to secure $1.7 million in grants and bonds from working with Senator Carrozza, Delegate Hartman, as well as our relationship with former Governor Hogan. Thankfully, because of their work, we have that $1.7 million sitting there that we can put towards this project. Additionally, the department has been working on this for a long time. And so we have an additional $750,000 from fundraising and savings, specifically dedicated for this project. Based off of estimates, that leaves us around, and based off of the referendum language, about $2.4 million that we're looking for support for to make sure that we can continue to serve and protect this community the way that you all deserve. So when we're looking around, this is kind of just a rough thing that we threw together, but a large thing that gets overlooked when it comes down to fire departments is the cost to basically build a fire department or a police station is a lot more than your average home, a lot more than your basic, commercial building, because there are different precautions and different standards that have to be met. So here what we did is we tried to look around for some different structures that were similar in size to what our final size is going to be, and just show what the cost estimates are. So there's a project down in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's going to be finished in fall of 2026. It's an 18,000 square foot facility, and that project is costing that community $17 million. There's another firehouse in Fillmore, California that was finished in construction in 2019. 15,000 square feet, really similar to the size of what we're working on. That project in 2019 was $8.3 million. In today's dollars, that would be a whole lot more. And then there's also a project that is still kind of getting underway up in Norfolk, Connecticut. And they're at 10,000 square foot. facility, and they're already estimating that they're going to be over $9 million for that facility based off of their area, their design standards. We share this data just to show that we are trying to be as responsible with how we're sourcing these different things and the different needs that we have to make sure that we're not trying to have the community incur any additional costs than it needs to. So the referendum question is essentially, will you authorize the Ocean Pond Association's Board of Directors and Administration to proceed with the construction of a new South Fire Station at a target cost to OPA for up to $3.4 million with a possible cost variance of up to 10%? So with that in mind, I'd like to open up the floor to any questions to the board or to the rest of the community, if you have any questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, President. Say this project goes forward and you get shovels in the ground this fall. How will that affect how and where your equipment is housed on the south side?
That's a great question. So when it comes down to this south station, this location is really important from the standpoint of it is essentially centrally located. It might not seem like it because we're saying we're in South Pines, but for those of you that are old school like me, you've got North Pines, South Pines, and South Pines. We are located right now in South Pines, and because of this location, it allows us to get to pretty much any part of this community in, I think we said it was less than 6 minutes, around 6 minutes. If we just operate out of one space or another space, it increases that time frame. So what we're going to do in kind of the intermedium while this building is under construction, we've been working with Mr. Viola as well as Mr. Wells from Public Works, and we're actually going to be able to take over some of the space back in the Public Works facility to make sure that we are able to keep some fire apparatus down here for the volunteers that are down here to be able to respond out of. Our career staffing is going to respond out of the North Station, but they're still going to have responsibilities and expectations to be down here, checking this apparatus, checking this facility down here as well, to try to minimize any response delays. We're also going to make sure that, to try to make sure that any of the necessary alert notifications are going to be moved from this station to the North Station, so that way we're ready and prepared to go from there. Is it a perfect solution? No, it's not. We did look at plans originally to try to have temporary housing on this space, but those plans were to cost for approximately about $150,000 more just to have temporary trailers set up down here. And so we're trying to be, again, as physically responsible to be able to accommodate and still make sure that we can get to anywhere we need to in a short matter of time. Should be 65 weeks, not months. Thanks to 8 people that I sent the presentation to. Weeks. Weeks. Yes, ma'am.
Here, be able to support a second floor if you need to expand later, since you won't have room to expand out.
I will have to get a direct answer for you. I do not know, but I'm thinking that, I mean, we know that the building that we are going to construct or reconstruct is going to be designed as a building that's going to be one of the last buildings standing if there's ever a catastrophic event here. It's going to be made to withstand, severe hurricane winds, everything like that. So it's going to have a structural integrity to the building is very important. I would have to verify and talk with probably some engineers to see if it could do that, but I know at least the building that's going to be here isn't something that's going to get blown down with a strong wind. Yes, sir, Mr. Reynolds.
You mentioned $150,000 to keep the staff here. The issue, I guess, is it, can you respond quicker if the staff are here for $150,000 or slower if you're on the other side? If you can respond faster here for $150,000, we should spend it.
That's something that we'll have to talk about as a group and consider what those options are. As I said before, one of the things that we were tasked with as a part of this project to say, how can we accomplish all of these needs while also not spending every dollar, every cent that's out there. Would it be most ideal if we could just plop in a pre-built fire station tomorrow? Absolutely. But sometimes there's going to be some concessions. The thing that I want to stress to everyone is, whether it be from a volunteer or a career standpoint, there's nothing more important to any of us than the safety of this community. And so we are going to do everything we can safely, responsibly, to make sure that there's never a need that's not met and addressed here when it comes down to a public safety standpoint. So I appreciate your question, and we'll definitely look into that further. Yes.
So you said you're going to house the permanent type people in the north side now?
Temporarily, while the building is under construction,
Pop into their car so they can make it under the bridge, because you're gonna have equipment down here.
so there is going to be some equipment here, but there's going to be equipment at the North Station as well. The issue with any type of response in a personal vehicle, case in point, I'll give you a case study on this. Was it 2 days ago we had a water rescue? 2 days ago, 3 days ago? I live down in South, down off of Burberry, which is across from Camelot. And I needed to respond from there down to the yacht club to get to our boat to go out with one of our captains to go out to the rescue of a jet ski accident. It took me an extraordinarily long time going the speed limit, following all the traffic rules and behind traffic to get there. So if someone tries to take their personal vehicle just to come back to get a fire truck out or whatever it may be, it's going to create a lot of delay in service. And that's one of the things that's most significant to us. God bless you, whoever sneezed. Because whether you're talking about a cardiac event, someone having a heart attack, or you're talking about a fire, every second counts in those situations. A house fire doubles in size every 30 seconds. That's why it's so important that we get out the door. That's why it's important that if we have a reported fire, our career staff that's here immediately goes and responds. They don't wait around to say, oh, well, we need to check the box for a volunteer. No, they go out to save the community. Same thing from a cardiac event. If we have if we're dispatched for someone that's having a cardiac event, if we're passing that residence, we're not stopping to go and try to get a fire truck out. We're going to stop and we're going to immediately initiate CPR and life-saving measures. So it's things like that we have to consider about, okay, well, can we just take a POV to wherever we're going or to get to that fire truck? And that's pretty much the same reason too that we have our North Station, where that is a fully staffed volunteer fire station. There are people that respond to that station every single time that we have an emergency. It's so that way they can get to that apparatus and then get to the emergency quicker than just trying to drive all the way around and beat summer traffic and everything like that.
Where we came from several years ago, the volunteers, who were, I guess, members of the fire department, they could use blue flashing lights.
The only thing that allow you like to look back at from Maryland period, the chiefs. We can only use one little flashlight. So that we're not allowed. Celtics, Delaware, you go up there, I'm not sure if that's where you came from. It looked like a Christmas tree coming down the road. But in Maryland, we're not allowed. I'm going to go with somebody ruined the law back in the day. One bad person ruined it for everybody. But no, we're not allowed.
Thanks, sir.
This gentleman,
as I understand it, maybe I read it wrong, is when this is all completed, EA will own the firehouse and the fire company will own the property. Is that correct?
So the agreement as it stands today is the fire department owns the firehouse and it owns the property that the firehouse sits on. As a part of the new MOU that we worked on last summer to be ratified, a part of, or I guess essentially a concession that the department made to try to make this project be able to come to fruition is say once this project goes underway and the new building is constructed, OPA would retain ownership of the building, and we would basically be long-term permanent tenants of the building while we own the land. That way, essentially, it's giving more of an equity back to the OPAs and the residents for making that investment into the firehouse.
be responsible for maintenance and that through public works. Is that what will happen?
Yeah, so the department's still going to be responsible for the maintenance of the building. It's, the funds will essentially, for the maintenance and things like that will come through the normal funding channels that we have through our fundraising, through the county and through our allotment from OPA. But it's not like if something breaks here, we're not going to pick up the phone and say, hey, John, come, replace our light bulb. We're still going to be doing all those different tasks.
Sure. This may be for John. This is on our asset list.
Correct.
And then we had a goal of getting our reserves up to 30% by 28, 29, something like that, looking at the budget sheet. So this will impact that we will have to put additional money into reserves, correct?
So it's all.
I'll answer that in two parts, and it's a very good question. So first, the 30% was never a definite. We do have a DMA study coming up. That's when we would decide on something like that. Right now, you've heard me in other board meetings or whatever, I believe we have a Goldilocks situation, so I do not believe we'll need to get to that 30%. Second part, you are correct. This would be on our asset list. We would provide for it, just like depreciation or contribution, which would probably come out to about $90,000 that we'd have to increase to our reserve each year. But we should have been doing that all these years anyway, the last 30, to be honest with you. Yeah, but good question.
The budget, 28, 29 year look like a projection of 30%.
So
Percent now.
sorry. So
25.
we got the DMA study. We pushed it up, so it's going to be here. We're started, I believe, August, September. So we can get that information so we can see this whole thing, because we are recommending to utilize our balance sheet or our reserves to pay for this. Yep, no, good, Jordan.
Menards?
Are we gonna be leasing the land from you? Are we gonna have to?
No, there's not going to be technically a land lease. So yeah, Richard Friends is going to own the building, and there's going to be an agreement between the two that the fire department will continue to own the land, OPA will continue to own the building, and then we will basically have continuous, basically leases to use the building, basically in perpetuity. But there's not going to be a financial transaction between the two. Yes. Yeah, North Station is the complete opposite. We own the building, OPA owns the land. This is opposite here. Because in this case, we owned both to start with, whereas at the North Station, OPA let us use a piece of land to build the North Station when they redid the community center.
We're talking a little bit ago about the ETA time from the North Station. How many minutes would that add from north to go to south or south? What are we talking about?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into that, Stephanie.
Less.
So I started here as a volunteer EMT. So as a volunteer EMT at the, I would have to respond to the South Station, but to make it easier for calls, I would go to the scene. And I lived on Abbyshire on the north side. So on a good summer day, it would take me anywhere from, if I'm going, what did you say, south side? If I'm going to the south side, anywhere from like 12 to like 16 minutes. No, I'm thinking when they were talking about personal vehicles, it would take me anywhere from like 12 to 16 minutes. I would be rolling up on the scene as the ambulance is leaving, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna go back to the station.
It really depends on time of day, road conditions, time of year, everything like that. There will definitively be an additional time frame that it takes to get from the North Station to say all the way down to the point. With that said, there are folks that are medically trained within the department that live on the south side that would be making immediate responses to start providing care immediately while the units get on scene.
good for the community to know how much time we're talking about. More or less, how much time are we adding to ETA or cardiac arrest from the north and south outside, to respond? Because I think that's important for us to know as a community, if you have a fire, if you have a arrest, whatever the issue may be.
Sure. So it will be approximately 4 minutes, just depending on all those factors. Now, that doesn't mean that the initiation of care is going to be 4 minutes later. It might be quicker because the folks that are, on this side that either career or volunteer that live here, when a significant event happens, they are going to go out and respond no matter what it is. And we can start to provide immediate life-saving care right away. But to actually get that medical unit on scene, it might be that time frame. Now, keep in mind that time frame, that 4 minutes is minimal when you compare it to trying to bring in resources from a neighboring jurisdiction to come in. Now, any amount of
It was 150,000 and leave the rest of us here. So I mean, I think those are valid points for us to just really hold in,
So that's something that we will definitely consider. As I said before, our priority is to protect the community as best as we can. And if it is part of the community's wishes that they would feel better with us having a facility, our temporary facility here, great, we will gladly do that. We are just trying to make sure that we're giving as many concessions as we can because we're not trying to come in the room and say, this is what we want. We're only going to get this. We don't want to listen to any feedback. We want to hear your feedback. We want to make sure that we can continue to protect and serve the community and all of its residents the best that we can.
Or how's that raised? Through fundraising? You said you'd be short $1 million something or?
No, so the projected cost was $150,000 for the temporary trials.
Everything of the bond.
I'm going to pass that to John.
They have with the grants and the money that we believe we need. Well, I believe we could have went to a bank, we could have went to the ADA, which would have been a lower rate, but would have had a lot of restrictions and a lot of red tape. Or, but I believe what I'm recommending, or we're recommending to the board, is that we fund this from our reserves and our balance sheet.
Which eventually is going to be increased association.
So no matter what you borrow,
Right.
take it out of reserves, there is going to be this cost on the assessment. I believe by doing it through our reserves, and I need the DMA study in September, October, to see where our reserve should be, where that generally say 30%. With the kind of with that process, I don't believe we need to have reserve at 30%. So we may be able to utilize some of that, but there would be some cost over time for this bill, sure. But I don't think it's going to be as big as we went out and did.
What is the actual voting? Where we have the answers to most questions before the vote?
So when you say the actual question, so actually the referendum is for us to go forward and spend the money. Right now, the best thing we can do is give estimates. We don't have to go forward. We have over 1.5 years worth on the building. We have all the architectural plans and every other plan. That's all done. We received estimates on what it costs to build something like this from several different contractors, and we're utilizing that. So now it's need a contract, but say for a week, we say just 2 months. Hopefully.
Ashley?
I'm going to speak up so everyone can hear me better. Consider when you're looking at your HOA fees, when it's going towards something like the station, then you're looking back at the question of where we're going to put our responders to come to you faster. So what is more important? You're asking, how can we get there faster? Or are we gonna now have to pay more for this? What's more important, us coming and having what's proper to respond quickly, save your lives, save your house, whatever? Or I might have to pay an extra $50, $100 on my HOA every however often. You know, it kind of is boiling down to what's the, you know, if you're asking where the money's gonna come from, community wise. And then the community asking, like, getting there, how are we gonna get there faster? Like, well, at one point, like, do you want us to get there faster and have a proper station here? Or do you want us to like kind of back off the plan and have less financing towards it?
So are you talking about during the transition, the 150,000 that Joe?
Generally, Chef's two questions based on, how is our response time gonna change during this time? That was a concern, and the shelter is the concern about then how are we gonna be taking more out of the HOAs?
Yeah.
Just considering when you're thinking of those things, no, I'm like the community, not. Like, I was like, what's a little extra dollars you need to like heaven for friend that comes to get? Or us coming to you faster in any circumstance because we have a nice station or because we place some people here during the interim, whatever it ends up being. It's serving you guys is the bottom line.
And that's part of the reason that we have these hearings and these opportunities to get community input and community feedback. Hold on, Mr. Reynolds. There's someone in the back that's been raising her hand very patiently.
Was county or the casino or more people give you more money? Instead of just going through it.
For one, the casino is not serviced by our department, number one. That is neither here nor there. That. We have talked to the governor, and that's part of how we were able to secure $1.3 million for the project. John?
Can we keep some of the conversation down so we can hear the questions and the answers, please?
I just asked everybody, so it's 150,000 Joe has mentioned. Is that what everybody wants? Because we can certainly okay, yeah, so we can certainly do that. Yeah, tell me. Oh, just 3, 5? We're willing.
Okay. All right, bring it back together. Sir, in the back.
From like the property owners association standpoint, it's gonna be yearly. Yeah, I mean, 100%, $200, is it gonna be compounded year to year for a certain amount of time? Do we have that information? We do.
So. Depending on how long we pay her up, but if you just wanted a straight answer, we said, let's take 10 years. It's not on that. Can you hear me? Yeah. So if we just paid it back over 10 years, you'd be looking at probably $50 on the assessment each year. If you wanted to just say, okay, what exactly is this building costing us? So obviously the longer period of time and depending on what kind of interest rate we pay ourselves. But that's just the general number I was saying, $50. Yeah, yeah. It's worth it. It's worth it, right? Come on, yeah.
Guys, my name is Don XD, 7 Residential Drive. We need to do this. Without question, it's the added benefit, it's these guys' benefit that are putting their lives on the line every day to help us and keep us out part of what. And it's a no-brainer. It's got to get done. The longer, I'm not going to use the word, but the longer we keep dragging this out, the more it's going to go up and up and up. And we're going to be back here in a year saying, why is it going to cost another $1 million? We should just get it last year and be done with it. And that's just my personal opinion, which I have. There was my son.
Wait, surprise.
Together with these guys over the last couple of years, and we heard up at their county owners resolve that they're coming to their families. And us and them, it's only $50 a year. I'll give you $100 right now. Let's do it.
Right now.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, why can't negotiations occur with those players that you're going to serve and refuse to pay? That is like the casino, Westchester County, or whatever. Why can't negotiations occur there?
So one of the unique things about our county that is different than a lot of other areas is that we do not have what's called impact fees. So for example, in other areas, the new giant that they're talking about building out there in Route 50, when they would come in, there's a certain fee that they would have to pay to different facilities, whether it be the fire department, whether it be wastewater, whatever it may be, to basically have the right, have the privilege to build that property. Worcester County does not have any type of impact fees. So all these new buildings that you see, the medical facilities, Tuttle Health, AGH, whatever it may be, there's no legal obligation for them to do anything besides just get all the checks and balances to build their building and go on living their best life with that building. In a perfect world, yes, we would love to be able to go to these different facilities and ask for contributions for covering the cost of the building. But there's also a reality that there's nothing that's going to require them. We've been working on this project for years before I even was involved. And I know there was a point in time where there was a grant writer involved. We've tried to shake every tree and find as many dollars that's out there. We are blessed that we have $1.7 million right now of state funding to go towards this project. That's more money than, as far as I know, for Delegate Hartman and Senator Carrozza, more money than any volunteer firehouse in the entire state has been able to build up for a project. And so without those funds, that $50 might end up being $100 or $150. So I just want to say we're not trying to ask people for money. We're not trying to say, oh, hey, we just want the residents of Ocean Pines to pay. Because there's a reality that I'm a resident of Ocean Pines too. I'm paying that assessment fee too. And, I wouldn't want my assessment fee to go up, a ton either. I like it when it goes down. Thank you, John. But there's also a reality that we can't force anyone to do anything. And it also would be immoral and unjust if there was an emergency at one of these other places and we said, nah, you didn't donate to our firehouse, so we're not going to go try to save a life. We can't do that. There's nothing that's there. Every year we send out and we request donations when we did our fundraising campaigns. All of these larger businesses in the areas have been requested for money. The county does not fund fire stations. There are small grants that have been looked into and have been given in the past, but it all depends on the county's financial situation. And I believe what we saw this year was the county was trying to reduce the taxpayers' costs, and so they were reducing some of those things, and so those opportunities aren't always there. We have tried to find as many funding sources as we can. We continue to, for even the fit out of the department, rather be trying to find grants for gym equipment, grants for the PPE washer and dryer. We are still constantly trying to find ways to reduce the cost of the project. It's just a matter of, we have a certain timeline that we need to spend this $1.7 million, or it needs to be turned over to the state. And if we turn it back to the state, we are not going to get it. And it's also going to damage any of the other volunteer fire departments that try to go for money like that, because they're going to use us as the case study and say, well, we gave this to Ocean Pines and they didn't use it, so we're not going to do that again. Yes. So there's 11 other fire departments that are all fighting for the same funding sources.
Mary Whitcomb for Stacy Court. This is to John and Board. This great information that you have, I think it's helped me a lot. I have no idea about the funding and things like other thing in the time frame. What kind of information is going to go out with the referendum other than that statement? Are you going to have this kind of stuff saying going to be reserved, maybe up to $50? This is this kind of stuff, so people know. Because I didn't know.
All the figures talk about the construction, is it improved demolition of kind road?
Yes, sir.
Does the figures include the demolition of the existing? Everything's all inclusive as far as I know.
Correct. Both the interior function.
Mr. McCarthy?
So.
In answer to your question too, I think, I don't know if you all are aware that we have a first due. And the casino is not our first due. Yes, we would go there. We will be second due, but they're gonna look at Berlin for money, give money to Berlin more than they would consider giving money to us.
That's absolutely correct. And there's even certain expected conversations that have to have for departments across boundary lines to fundraise in different areas. And so there's a lot that goes into who we can ask, where we can ask, how we can ask, and everything like that. Trust me, I'm working as hard as I can behind the scenes trying to find grant opportunities. Vice President Van Gasbeck, Stephanie, Steve, we're all working on trying to find grant opportunities to bring down any cost that this department incurs, whether it be from fire trucks, apparatus, personal gear. We're trying to find ways to reduce the cost. It's just, as with everything else, and unfortunately in the public safety business, the cost of everything has gone up exponentially. You know, a fire truck that we originally bought for $350,000 to buy the exact replica of that, you're looking at, like Mr. Carey said earlier, $1.3, $1.4 million. It's just different. Yes, ma'am.
Who designed this building? How many contractors have we had? This one come up with the plans here.
So the architect of the building is Mr. Fred Horn. I think I believe that's what it's.
All different contractors so far?
So the architect is different than the contractor side of it. There are, okay, everybody calm down, hold on. Yeah, so there are certain things that we can ask for, and we do that from time to time. When it comes down to a project of this scale, there's not a lot of people that are just going to, out of the goodness of their heart, donate their time. You know, for example, the new firehouse that they built in Ocean City, right, wrong, or in between, for everyone feels about that, that was a $12 million firehouse. And that was even with people, you know, trying to do things as, you know, family friend discounts and things like that. It is a very expensive thing to try to maintain any of this. And it's a burden that we as a department have tried to carry on our own for many, many years. And we're at the point where we need this community to continue to help us to get it over across that finish line.
I'm gonna.
Just mention something that John has said in the one with the firehouse. They've been working on this for years. The longer we push it down the road, the more expensive it's going to become. They have done a solid job of looking at what their needs are, what they're going to need into the future. We're pretty much worked out, so we have a much better sense of what the needs are going to be going down the road. It is important, number one, to make sure that this firehouse is able to get where they need to do quickly. So if it costs a little bit more money, it needs to be spent. The thing is that every month we wait to get bids in, to sign a contract, it keeps escalating. It's been going on for years. So we really have to come to a point where we say, what are the best options? We need to get it started. We cannot keep pushing this down the road.
And now it's going to be the whole community that gets the vote, am I right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So when you send out the votes, you should have all this, because a lot of people that I've talked to are like, so maybe when you guys send out that form, explain everything, you can't just send out the paper. I mean, bring the information to the community more. I'm surprised there's not more people here. Because they're not getting involved and then they turn around and they tell people say no. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Maybe there should be, I don't know, do some kind of broadcasting, something to get more people aware of what we need to do. A lot of people are just like, yeah, you know, yeah.
Today was fun.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it. They've done a wonderful job of putting it together. And by the way, thank you guys for the presentation. But that's what today, it's work. If you have questions, if you don't ask,
Yeah.
our owners have some responsibility here as well. All right, we're a community, we're trying to better our community. We, you know, if you have questions, you gotta ask. I don't know. That's sites, you got.
It's not about 40 to 50 people, that's a great point. And what happens if 1,000 others are gonna be, everybody's gonna come too.
So one thing we did do today, this meeting is being recorded. So you will tell anybody, go out there and watch this on this recording. Computer. And I would encourage them to please come to our board meeting tomorrow. And we'll be happy to entertain any of this.
30 coffee and donuts.
I just want to put my 2 cents, instead of $100, I'm going to donate it. I'm a good friend of, I thought considering the private to be a good friend of all of ours, and I have good friends who volunteer here as well. And I, for one, am floored about how little this is going to cost.
Yeah.
I mean, being a whole lot of money, millions and millions more dollars. And if we don't do it now, then I think we're all fools. I'm honest. This is the time to do it and do it as quickly as possible. And I commend everyone for keeping the costs down and for the, the foresight to do something like this. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think everybody should be great class.
All right, sir, in the back.
I would think that the equipment and accessories in this building is going to cost as much as a new building is going to cost. So I would expect that most of that, everything would be transferring to the new building.
So all the fire engines, the medic units, the gear, yeah, all that stuff will be transferring. There's other features of, couches, beds, things like that we're going to have to replace, just as a part of annual replacements and things like that. But we're not basically saying, hey, we're getting rid of all of our fire trucks, because that would probably be that would be probably a good $15 million project or more. Yeah, no, we're still going to use them as long as we can.
When does this going to expire?
2029 is when all of the funds have to be spent with the grant. Yes, so there's multiple grants that expire in 2029. We also have the bond from the state of Maryland that we have access to.
And time is of the essence. This needs to go down.
The grant, I mean, this is approved, with reference, when can construction start?
The plan is October, that's what the.
Okay.
We try to do as much preparation as we can, anticipating a positive outcome. If it doesn't come, then we're going to do what we do in the fire service, and we're going to adapt, improvise, and overcome. It's just going to be unfortunate. All right.
But information is power, so I do suggest not just the video, if you could do a PowerPoint that was here, because that would be posted too.
Sure.
In the referendum question, if you can't include the whole pathway, at least have a link there, so that when people vote, they immediately see, this is a lot of money, and they can go to a link and they can, learn about the program.
Into the paper.
There's a certain view of a lot of people are going out information to the community. This is the first step to get around them. And so there will be a lot of information going on, so people learning to get that. Referendum now, if they understand it and they say yes.
We need a percentage, can we give a certain number to say yes to the question?
It's just the majority of people that vote.
A majority of people want to vote, yes, majority.
I can't.
Cindy?
Yard signs for candidates this election cycle. Are you guys gonna have any yard sign to anything? And that's pretty, basic.
CDI about that? But John, can you?
Elaine knows a guy.
That's a great idea, Cindy. And thank you to everyone that has come out today. I know I gotta pass this back over this way, but you look around, you see the folks that are in the white shirts, the blue shirts, our career, our volunteer staff. People that aren't even working today have come back because this is such a big, important thing to all of us. So we just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your Friday to sit down and learn more about the project. And hopefully we've answered your questions. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We work 24/7. So we might not want to answer your question at 3 a.m, but I'm pretty sure y'all could find me anytime, any place. So thank you again. And thank you to the board for allowing us the opportunity.
Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.